My friends, the great experiment.
Crew doesn't hate the XO, then he's not doing his job.
Good hunting is what you say.
It's part of the pattern, part of the plan.
Are they the lucky ones? That's what you're thinking, isn't it?
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast for the makers of The Greatest Generation. Except today, it's hot Cylon summer. I'm Adam Pranica.
I'm Ben Harrison. Probably the best named special podcasting event in history, right?
I haven't heard every other special podcast event title, but you know what? I'll get on that level.
Yeah.
Best one I've heard.
I mean, prove us wrong. How about that? We'll wait.
Overwhelming response to the question posed to FODs. What should we do during the new Trek off-season?
Yeah. It's fun when you do the one that had the overwhelming majority of people floating it as the idea, and then you still get the like, why aren't you doing Space Above and Beyond instead? That's the one I wanted it to be.
Oh, I mean, much like the person who knows of all the titles, you're hyper aware of all of the responses, Ben. You gotta get out of those social media streets. We made a decision and we're sticking with it.
Yeah, we're sticking with it. You're not going to sway us off this path.
I'm excited to be here. This is a really great series, as I recall, a series that I watched back closer to its release. 2005.
2005
is when Battlestar Galactica dropped.
Yeah, I'm guessing I watched the bits of it that I watched in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like a get it on DVD from Netflix for me.
Oh, yeah. Those were great days. Those little red envelopes.
Little red envelopes, my little teeny tiny television in the corner of my little teeny tiny apartment. Volume turned way down because I had 3 roommates.
Oh, yeah. And you wanted to hear what they were doing? Mm-hmm. Rooms next door?
Yeah. Yeah. Wanted to hear if Jan was getting it on. Somebody met at the Pants Free Dance Club.
Jesus. Everyone keeps their pants on in this episode, Ben, of Battlestar Galactica. What do you say we get into it as we start at the beginning? I guess the second beginning, because there was a 2-part mini-movie event that we've already covered. This is the first in the series.
It's an amazing Season 1, Episode 1 that has a last time on.
Yeah. Amazing stuff. It's called 33.
Clock is running. 33 minutes. Mark.
In our cold open, we get reintroduced to all of our main characters. There's Gaius Baltar, there's Starbuck, there's Apollo.
Yeah.
There's Commander Adama. Everyone, no matter who you are or where you are, is focused on the clock. A clock that's counting down towards 0. And what is very apparent, no matter who you are or where you are, is that you're tired. You're just so tired.
Yeah.
The tired makeup is really doing a lot of work here.
Oh, I actually read interesting production note on this. Every single actor in this episode 1 had a 2-week-old newborn at home. And so they didn't even have to do any makeup to get this tired effect. Like they were that tired.
Sounds terrible. They're doing that thing where they're yawning all the time and they're struggling to keep their eyes open. And, everyone seems pretty stressed and tired, but inside Gaius Baltar's imagination, things are calm and serene inside the beautiful lake house property that he lives his interior life in with 6.
Right. This is the house that he was in the backdoor TV movie pilot, so
it's his happy place.
It's his happy place.
Who couldn't be happy there?
It was like being inside joy.
I would love for my house to be my happy place someday.
Yeah.
Instead, it's my place where I go and notice that, the screw on the bottom part of this light fixture plate, the plate on the light switch is coming loose. Got to go get a screwdriver and deal with that. Cool.
I'd love to rent my happy place to a production team over the course of several years and be making bank.
Oh, yeah. That would be huge. Yeah, his happy place is a bit uncomfortable because Six is pitching him on becoming a believer in God. She seems very dedicated to the idea that she can persuade him of this.
She doesn't just wait outside of his arrivals airport, silently standing next to a standee full of brochures.
Right.
This is kind of a hard sell here.
Demons!
Yeah.
Demons out!
It's not like there's a totally optional number 6 science reading room at the airport that you're like, wow, they pay rent for space at the airport for that, and like nobody's ever in it? What is that?
It's a great bit of contrast here. The serenity of this moment, the discomfort that Gaius feels at getting the hard sell, and everything happening outside of his imagination. This every 33 minutes-ness of real life when the Cylons come. And this has been a way of life for them for 5.5 days. They've jumped 237 times in a row, every 33 minutes on the 33 minutes, like a weird small town news and traffic together AM radio station. Like, there's not so much traffic. You need to do it like every 5 minutes. There's not so much news. You need to pop in every 11 minutes, even 33 minutes is the right dosage here.
Yeah. News, traffic, and weather on the 33s is not the...
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so random, right? Like, if at least if it was a round number, you could predict when it was going to be.
Yeah. I have heard that it's like between 2 and 3 days of staying awake that the psychosis begins, right? Like the worst medical outcomes of sleep deprivation begin between 2 and 3 days. And at 5 days, I was looking all around at these people, like assuming stimulants, but it isn't until like halfway through the episode that it's even considered that they'd be distributed. I was surprised by this.
Yeah, well, there's a moment like way later in the episode where it's sort of implied that Adama and Tig are kind of trading like every other jump cycle. One of them is going off and getting 10 minutes of shut-eye.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the science of sleep, but that seems like it wouldn't be enough. And maybe they should just alternate, like give each other the full half hour or something.
Yeah. What's funny about this tension is that it's occurred for so long that by the time the Cylon base stars appear, what is an epic battle seems like routine. Like people are trying as hard as they can to survive and to defend the fleet and so forth. But the energy in that defense just feels low, and it's so unusual to see a conflict of this scope kind of play out as routine, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's also just like such a weird energy to pick for your episode 1. Like, I guess presumably they like re-aired the 2-parter before this, right? Because that came out in 2003 and this came out in 2004.
Right.
Like they can assume at this point that everybody has seen the previously on.
Yeah.
Pretty much, which is like a kind of a big like sea change in the way television was made. This is like the dawn of binging Netflix DVDs of your show era. And I just don't think that this would ever be the first episode of a TV show before about 2004, you know? Because it's like miserable mostly. Like the main character development of any given character is super tired. That's the main thing about this guy.
Yeah.
Also her.
But I think because everyone is that, it makes it less unique or strange and is not the top line description. Like if everyone is a certain thing, then none of them are at that thing. And that kind of, I think, reduces the strange impact of that.
That's true. Well, it's very clear that like this is a huge problem, but also their ability to problem solve is like the main thing that has been taxed by the pervasive fatigue that's affecting everybody.
It's just challenging enough.
Yeah.
You know, like they have everything it takes to get through 33 minutes, repel the attack, make the jump, and start it all over again. It's such a interesting like dose of danger. Like they can defend this as long as their bodies will allow it.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as their ability to make these FTL jumps stays working, and it seems like many ships are starting to struggle with their FTL drives in the fleet.
Right. Yeah.
Seems like Boomer's doing okay relative to everyone.
You know what? I don't give a frack.
I mean, under the circumstances, both because of the every 33 minutesness of the jumps and also, hey, new partner day for Boomer, you would expect her to be, I don't know, a little worse for wear. I mean, she is extremely crabby with both the new guy and Chief Tyrol.
Yeah.
She's plausibly irritated for being a Cylon. I think that's what this scene is meant to demonstrate, right? Like, she is not unusual.
And I didn't ask you.
Yeah, and like nobody has time to notice that she's like doesn't have the like tired makeup on. Like she's acting crabby enough that it's like selling it.
I didn't ask you that either.
I like this scene where Apollo addresses the other pilot and he just kind of loses the thread on things. And I love like an authority figure finally like coming to terms with like the truth of the situation and not just speaking in motivational tomes or whatever. He finally like he's taken the broad mission down to just let's just make it through the next one, guys.
Yeah.
That's all we got to do.
It struck me as a little bit funny that they even have to have the mission briefing. It's like, we know what the mission is, right? Like a bunch of Cylons are going to show up and there will be like nukes falling on our ships and then they will all blurp away just in time.
Well, I wonder how much of it is about getting everyone in the same room to not fall asleep together. Like if you go off on your own, you are going to lean up against a wall and fall asleep. But if you're in that briefing room, like you're going to catch an elbow from the pilot next to you.
Yeah.
No mistakes. And let's make it to 238.
So there's a little scene where one of the bridge crew members takes some time to go show some photos to someone working at a desk. And this is basically a sort of ad hoc operation trying to help people figure out if their relatives survived, because there's only, just over 50,000 humans presumed to have survived the Cylon attacks. And we learn that, in fact, that's an overcount in the next scene because, like, they've all been scrambling this entire time, I guess. And so, like, the president is, like, learning from her aide guy about how the head count was actually about 300 high. And they keep using this whiteboard to, like, keep track of what the number of, like, extant humans is. And I love that they didn't have some like technology thing that they were using for this. It's just a whiteboard, regular ass whiteboard. Like it is not a hologram whiteboard. It's not like, green paint on a black surface. It's not anything fancy.
I think it's representative of the desire for technology to be unnetworked and like intentionally unsophisticated.
Yeah.
In this way. And it really, like the idea of creating a searchable database of survivors it feels extremely real. Like data entry is a very popular job at this moment in time. You got to make this database searchable for folks. And boy, like how present was 9/11 on your mind when you saw this shrine outside? Like in 2005,
yeah,
this moment had to have hit extremely hard, and not in a gross way. Like in a, you saw it not that long ago. This is what people do in the aftermath of terrible events.
Yeah, it's very relatable. I mean, the earthquake and the fire in the Bay Area when I was a kid were like 1 or 2 years apart. And both times there were like a ton of like missing people and stuff. And I remember seeing stuff like this on the news for that even.
We recall from the movie events just what a priority making babies was going to be for Roslyn. Mm-hmm. Family planning also top of mind for Six in a conversation with Gaius Baltar. They don't seem to be on the same page here.
Procreation is one of God's commandments.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, awkward when you're not on the same page and when the person who's going to have to bear the kid is a figment of your imagination.
How does that work exactly?
I guess it's better than the other way around, that it's her that wants the kids. Like, is she proposing imaginary children? Like, what if I had a couple of tykes running around here also in your mind's eye?
If you're on Colonial 1, you don't want to sit anywhere near Gaius Baltar because he's just constantly shooting ropes into his pants, having fantasy sex with Six in his imagination, right?
He is right behind the president. Like, they are danger close. Like, if any of the ropes get out of those trousers, she could be hit. Secret Service has to get on top of this.
Nothing makes a boner go soft than the danger of being exposed as a traitor. And in real life, the idea of a Dr. Amarak wanting to take a meeting with President Roslin is floated from assistant cousin Greg. And Dr. Amarak wants to meet with her because he seems to know about why the Cylons were able to bypass the defense mainframe. And that's a big uh-oh for Gaius Baltar.
We know that is because Gaius has been giving Six information that she shouldn't have had because he didn't realize she was a Cylon. I
really love how the dialogue is constructed in this scene. Like, the way Gaius is able to use dialogue meant for Six in a way that he can pivot into a conversation with Roslin, and how, for as bizarre as he's acting, Roslin and assistant cousin Greg are still like, man, what's up with that guy? Like, he isn't just passing cleanly between these two spaces in his mind. Like, it's a struggle, and everyone sees that he's struggling through whatever he's going through.
They talk about him like, boy, that guy, something up with him.
He's a strange one, isn't he?
And why are the front of his pants always wet?
Yeah, it's not like he spilled a drink or anything. It's just a little splotch.
That ain't piss. That's got nothing to do with piss.
I mean, it can't always be cum, right? Is it always cum?
I kind of think it's always cum. You smell that, right?
Yeah, gross.
I don't really relate to Dr. Gaius because he's like guilty as fuck, but trying to make sure nobody knows he's guilty. You know, like 49,000 people still alive. Like, what do you think is going to happen if you go like, hey, bad news, I think I might know like why this happened. That's what I can't really like relate to with this guy. That information might be helpful, and to save his own skin, he's withholding it. I guess I feel guilty whether or not I even did anything bad. So I'm like, yeah, just like own it, man.
Gaius has been consistent about that throughout.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
I guess so, yeah. We cut over to Cylon-occupied Caprica, and it hasn't been completely glassed. Like, there's still live vegetation on the surface, and it's raining. And we learned that Hilo did not die when Boomer took off in that transport ship at the end of the last episode.
He's got to be as tired as everyone in the fleet.
No kidding.
He's been on that service for 6 days, running through the forest, pretty much nonstop.
Ramboing the shit out of robots the entire time. Like, he's doing amazing work here.
Been a long time since we've experienced, like, the awful joy of executing a Centurion, you know, in a fit of rage and revenge, right? Like, there's a moment here where Hilo finally blows up one and double taps the other in the head, where you're meant to feel a sort of ecstasy from that. Like, it's good to finally see the humans win one.
Yeah, this guy was rock and roll at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Is this the first time they've gotten a win since, like, successfully jumping to that one space station?
Yeah, I mean, so often win has meant escape,
right,
instead of anything, you know, scorekeepy.
Yeah.
But good for Hilo here.
So we cut back over to the Battlestar Galactica, where Adama has come up with his stimulants for pilots idea. This is like way against regs, but also like, what else the fuck are they going to do? These pilots all have late in life ADHD. Fuck. What's the word? Assessments. Assessments?
I don't know.
Diagnoses.
In the Gene Hackman from Crimson Tide parlance, the use of trucker speed has been authorized.
Yeah.
And on the hangar deck, Apollo and Starbuck discuss the memo that has come down, RE trucker speed. She doesn't want to fly, all hopped up on him. And also she has some notes for her manager about how to deal with subordinates like her who don't want to take them.
You smack her in the mouth and you drag her sorry ass down to 6th Bay and you make her take those pills.
This was the one scene where I was like, is this supposed to be horny? Like this, like, tell me what to do energy? Like, I couldn't tell if she was doing bits on how tired they were and, like, you know, like ordering up above her rank, or if it was like kind of a steamy moment.
It goes on so long, it was surprising that it was revealed to be a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's probably some truth in this bit, though, with how specific she is and how cutting she becomes throughout.
It seemed horny to me.
Like, every great bit has a kernel of truth in it, right?
Mm-hmm. And a kernel of horniness.
I didn't see the horny in this at all. Everyone just seems too tired.
Everybody has a headache, not tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll sleep when we're dead. Come on.
Jump 238, complete.
Start the clock.
33 minutes. Mark.
Back on Caprica, Hilo's been running around with a med kit full of anti-radiation drugs. And he's been on the run so long, I mean, you gotta stop for a second to shoot up with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
But who is that in the forest in the distance? It's someone who looks like number 6. And while he's distracted by this person for just a moment, a Centurion gets the jump on him from behind, and he's taken prisoner.
Feel bad for this guy. I mean, he already had to go through the experience of giving himself a neck injection, and now this?
For a guy who has been running from the metal ones for as long as he has, I could absolutely see being distracted by a 6 in a white lab coat in the forest. Like, what the fuck must that feel like? The entire planet has been nuked. You haven't seen a human soul in 6 days. You've been awake that long.
Right.
You've just rammed needles into your neck full of anti-radiation drugs. I get it.
And like she's in that like crisp white uniform. Like, how?
There's a moment where you let your guard down.
Yeah.
I get this, Hilo. This is not your fault.
Yeah. So you know more about this show than I do. She's called 6 when Dr. Gaius Baltar is talking to her, but this is not 6. This is like 5 or 11 or 22 or something.
I mean, it's just the name that she has for the show.
Yeah, but presumably a different number because there's multiple editions of this model.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Let me tell you, she puts the model in model number.
Sure does.
Back on Colonial 1, we learned that one of the civilian ships that has been part of the fleet presumably got left behind in the last jump, did not successfully execute their FTL, and it was a big one, 1,345 people aboard. And this news goes over really badly all over the fleet. Colonel Tig really fucking lays into the lady that's like reporting the number to him.
I think I accounted for all civilian ships before we left,
You think?
sir.
Did you or didn't you?
Even though like a couple of people speak up in her defense, Adama's like, you know, these like mistakes are going to like lose this many lives. So yeah, it is that lady's fault specifically.
I love how efficient both of them are in their speeches because there is so little time to even discuss it. The clock is ticking again, you know?
Yeah.
Tig is like, do your fucking jobs. Adama is like, do your jobs or people die. They're kind of two versions of the same message here.
Yeah. Cousin Greg wipes off the whiteboard and puts the new, much lower number and then puts a little frowny face right next to it.
Yeah. I mean, President Roslin would love to do anything to take her mind off of this number that keeps changing. And meeting with Dr. Amarak was supposed to be that. But he was on the Olympic carrier.
What luck.
And this is something that Gaius Baltar sees as a coincidence, even though number 6 views it as some sort of divine intervention.
Yeah, she's made it her mission this episode to save Dr. Gaius Baltar and get him to believe in God. And this is something she's citing as evidence of divine providence.
This is something that spiritual people do all the time. Like, you make the case for your belief system.
Yeah. Yeah, I was talking about that the other day. We were watching a show and some character, like, over the course of the episode said something about, like, this is God, like, answering our prayers when a good thing happened, and then this is God testing me when a bad thing happened. It was like, man, like, you can really just, like, map that onto any situation. It's a reality show. So
cool God.
This wasn't like a theological expert or anything, but I kind of feel like that's what Six is doing with Dr. Baltar here. And I'm not sure if he's supposed to seem smart or super dumb, but like, I was like unpersuaded by this like, now we have evidence for the almighty line that she was pursuing.
Well, Gaius, being a man of science, remains consistent in his disbelief for most of this story.
Yeah. And consistent in his having a little patch of wetness in the front of his pants.
Yeah.
Look it up for yourself. Go to calcocutpants.com.
On the bridge of the Galactica, it's time for jump 239, but when the clock runs out, the Cylon ships they were expecting to appear don't show. And we get an elliptical cut to later with a title screen that says we're now at 132 hours without sleep. And I wanted to ask you, there's a shot of Galactica from the exterior that is kind of like 1/4.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is recency bias, but I was recently in New York and I saw the Little Shop of Horrors off-Broadway play.
Oh, fun.
Does Battlestar Galactica look like Audrey 2? I kind of feel like it does.
Battlestar sees a flight of their little jets in space and it goes, feed me.
I will not, so stop asking.
It really looks like there's a little mouth on Galactica. Anyway.
Wow.
This is great. I mean, this is such a different form of tension. The tension before, we're on this clock, the cycle's repeating, it's terrible to go through this over and over and over again. And now the tension is waiting. And it's not better or worse than that. It's just different.
I wanted to know why not jump one more time just to like throw a little bit more uncertainty in the pursuing Cylon ships. Like,
it's because they keep losing Olympic carriers, Ben.
Well, yeah, they start to think about like, hey, maybe the Olympic carrier was what they were tracking or something, or somebody on it was what they were tracking.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a theory at this point. But they start to like unclench a little bit and they're like, okay, maybe like some people can get some shut eye for a bit.
Not the ones on trucker speed.
Yeah. Stimulant team, you stay on patrol. And then this made me think maybe giving stimulants to Apollo and Starbuck was the thing that made the Cylons unable to track them. Maybe that's what's going on here.
I wanted to know how long it would be possible for them to sleep after taking stimulants. How long do these things last?
I don't know, man. I need these stimulants because I'm fucking dying here.
Oh, no. What happened to you?
I don't know.
Have you been up every 33 minutes?
I've just had a rough couple of nights. Ever since, like Memorial Day is like the beginning of fireworks season in my neighborhood. And, it's hard for me to sleep when people are setting off explosives nearby.
We are 40 days before the 4th of July, and yeah.
And it's fucking on in my neighborhood, man.
Woohoo. So this is what Condition 2 means. Condition 2 means we recall all the fighters and just do like a series of patrols around the fleet, while hopefully we can start to get some rest. And on the bridge, Tig and Adama are talking about how different it is for the ship to have an XO who isn't drunk.
It's good to see you without the cup in your hand. Don't start.
The way Tig talks about himself made me think about what a good first AD is on a set. Mm-hmm. Like, you need the one to be the voice that doesn't need to be liked on a set. The one that just, like, transmit the orders to get shit done so we can be productive. And that's Tig.
Yeah. I've admired many ADs in my day who are delivering bad news to departments about how little time they have left in a way that is like so diplomatic that people don't wind up hating them.
Yeah.
Those people are few and far between. It's a very thankless job.
Gotta make the old man look good.
Beep, beep, beep. Like, you get so little time you get no time to rest. Like, right at the end of this conversation, there's alerts from the computer. Oh boy, there's the Olympic carrier. How? Why? Action stations.
Yeah. I loved how much Adama was the only one to like really hit the panic button here. Everybody else is like, hey, great. Like, that's our guys. And Adama's like, no fucking way. I don't trust this at all.
His resting state is suspicious, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So the pilots of the little fighter crafts go up and confront the Olympic carrier in space. And in his dream, Six implies to Gaius Baltar that the Olympic carrier has been the thing that was infiltrated by the Cylons and is getting tracked. And I think that one thing that they're doing very well with this character is making it kind of hard to tell whether she is telling him stuff that the Cylons want him to think, or if she is connected to the Cylons at all and has her own agenda that isn't aligned with theirs.
It's great. That pervasive tension, the unknowing that goes on for so long here.
Yeah.
It's an interesting companion to the tension of what's going on with the Olympic carrier. And I wanted to ask you this. How important of a decision was it to never board the carrier, like with a camera? Like, we never cut over to the flight deck to see a captain of any kind transmit these messages.
Right.
Like, you never see the condition on board. Even when Apollo does the flyby of the windows, you can't really see much. Like, I love how his view of things is obstructed. Like, you can't even see through most of the windows. And when you can, you kind of see a couple of seats. It's like, it's so inconclusive in such a great way.
They don't do the thing where they call up the captain of the Olympic carrier and go, how's your dog Wolfie?
Wolfie's fine, honey. Wolfie's just fine.
I watched these flybys a couple of times, and it looked like there were two red things on the flight deck.
Oh.
And it made me wonder whether or not those were Sixes or just the design of the bridge.
Or Cylon eyes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting question. Yeah. I mean, I didn't notice that when I watched, but the flyby where they're like trying to look through the like airplane windows along the side of it and don't see anything was very like haunted and spooky looking in a great way. So yeah, Baltar has a bit of a shit fit in the presence of the president about, his newfound suspicion that the Olympic carrier is compromised in some way. The ship gets warned off and is like told to go radio silent, but seems to ignore the warnings. And we cut to this wide shot, and I thought that the design of the Olympic carrier was also really good, because when we cut to the wide and you see it headed toward the fleet, it looks like a torpedo.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like a World War II submarine torpedo headed at them.
I really love like the idea of future tech and future transport being informed by the past. Like, this is a Zeppelin, basically.
Totally.
Its bulbousness is retro.
And they're trying to find out if the humanity or the something far more sinister than humanity.
Yeah. Does anyone remember laughter? It's going to broadside Galactica if they don't stop it, Ben.
And just as they're realizing this, the Cylons show back up. So they've got multiple threats coming from multiple directions. They also realize that the Olympic carrier has nukes on board, which seems like, I mean, I don't know how the like safety regulations of the future work, but I wouldn't put those on a civilian ship if I were, planning things.
Yeah, this comes as a surprise to everyone involved.
Does that like satisfy you that this is definitely a compromised ship and there aren't 1,345 people on board?
100%.
Okay. So your parents are in fact dead. We can confirm.
It seems like it should be knowledge that should satisfy Apollo and Starbuck too, right?
Right.
who are privy to this.
Yeah, but they really go through something when they're ordered to take this ship out.
Yeah.
Especially Starbuck.
This explosion is huge when Apollo lights it up and then Starbuck does the same. But I kind of wanted it to be bigger, really big.
Really, really big.
Well, I don't know. I guess so.
You know what else is huge is the explosion between Six-looking lady and Hilo back on Caprica. He gets a little damp spot in his pants, and it's not the persistent rain.
CalicoCutPants.com right now.
What a mindfuck this has got to be if you're Hilo. What the fuck must you be thinking? You've been taken hostage.
Yeah, presumably eating bark from the trees to sustain yourself as you run terrified from chrome domes in the forest.
You witness the death of a person you thought it would be impossible to find to begin with, and then Boomer shows up.
Yeah, she's in her full flight kit, and he's like, "How are you here? I watched you take off."
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
None of it makes sense.
She helps him trudge off, and then another Six-looking lady watches them trudge off. I was like, man, they're so confident that Hilo is not going to turn around and start asking questions about how is that lady alive again.
It's so great because it demonstrates not only really interesting and smart strategy, but what you can do if you've got a strategy like that and also infinite resources.
Right.
If this doesn't work, that's fine.
Yeah.
They're down a couple more Cylons.
Yeah, whatever they want from Hilo is worth it for just the lulls.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and at this point, Hilo doesn't know that he's being fucked with.
Yeah. We get a little update, 24 hours with no Cylons. Everybody's satisfied that destroying the Olympic carrier was the right choice.
This question at the end between Commander Adama and his son about whose responsibility it was to blow up the Olympic carrier.
To blow up the damn ship, if you will.
No! This occurs after I think they're both pretty sure that it was a trap and a bomb and it had to be done. This argument about whose responsibility it was seems grounded in the feeling that they still can't be sure.
Right.
Are we sure and are they sure? I feel like to have this scene, Apollo and his father cannot be sure.
Yeah. Well, so that's, I think, maybe the biggest problem I have with the episode is I think it's so much more interesting if they're not sure, but I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just it.
So.
Yeah. Also, whose responsibility do you think it is? I think it's obvious. It's the commanding officer.
I gave the order. It was my responsibility.
I mean, I think that my beliefs on this have been made very clear over the years that people don't kill people, Vipers kill people. And I think that we should get rid of all of them.
Well, they're needed for fleet defense, clearly, especially when you juice up their pilots with a bunch of trucker speed.
Mm-hmm. They're just going to have crank Pez dispensers in all of the ships now.
Their piss has got to look crazy after this.
Button on the episode is the president learning that a baby has been born in the fleet, and so they can update their whiteboard tally of the total number of humans in a positive direction for the first time. A little glimmer of hope after a very desperate experience.
Yeah, the bad news, though, is that the baby's name is Skylar. Oh, God, we're still doing this.
That was on trend 10 years ago. I mean, you realize that Skylar's going to sound like an old lady name when Skylar is 20.
Wait, how did you spell it? Skylear? No one would guess that. Do you want this person to have to spell that name to a customer service representative over the phone for their entire life?
How about no?
That sucks.
You know, in France, they have laws about this. Did you like this episode of Battlestar Galactica, Adam?
So say we all. So say we all.
I really did. And it's shocking that a show would come out of the gate basically with the best of both worlds being its episode 1. Like, these are people that you already care about based on a mini movie. And even if you didn't watch that, the last time on gives you enough of an onboard to understand what's happening and the interconnectedness of all these characters and the significance of their relationships. Like, it's so speedy and efficient to get you on the show's level, and then to decide that once you're there, we are just going to hurt you as a viewer with that. We're going to make you endure this for 45 minutes.
Certainly an interesting challenge to make a comedy show about this.
I love it, and I love the idea of it, like the Ronald D. Moore of this. Like, this was the path his career took after Star Trek when his ideas were just too dark. You know? Too dark and scary and stressful. That's Ronald D. Moore. So he's like, fine, fuck you. I'm going to go make my own thing. And this being it, and this being the realization of all of that promise, is impressive. And what a great start to what I believe is a great science fiction series.
I mean, this episode definitely stressed me out. I watched it like yesterday morning before lunchtime, and I was like, it's not the time of day to be watching an episode this dark. I feel like this is like after dinner television.
What a magic trick it is, though, to intend to write anxiety and to evoke a feeling in a viewer of fatigue from it. Like, It really feels like at the end of this episode, you went through some stuff.
I think it very much achieves what it set out to achieve in that respect. And the one frustration I have with it is the ambiguity surrounding whether it was the right choice to kill the Olympic carrier seems to be carried too far for the characters after it's not ambiguous for the viewer.
How badly did you want Amarak to arrive and to have that tension teased out even more? Like, get Amarak in the room.
Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Yeah. RSVP Amarak, though.
Yeah. It's too bad. Very practical character. They can be folded up into a very small pouch and taken in a purse, in case it rains. I bet Hilo wishes he had an Amarak on the surface of Caprica.
It's true. You know what his death is effective at doing, though, is it doesn't remove the question. Like, he had information about a traitor in their midst, and that is not untrue anymore now because he's dead. If anything, it invites even more suspicion and intrigue, right?
Right. I mean, presumably he's still alive and in Cylon custody is even a possibility,
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows?
Wild stuff. It's important to be tired and scared and paranoid on this show.
Wow. Well, do you want to see if there's anything that makes you feel fear, paranoia, or fatigue in the Priority One inbox, Adam?
I mostly feel two of those things.
Yeah, it's
going
like
in here.
Paranoid, afraid, tired, pick two.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Ben, we've got a Priority 1 message here from Kate, and it's to Ben.
Hey, is that me?
That message goes like this. Happy first Father's Day to my husband, Ben.
Oh. Uh-oh. Is this my secret second wife?
You're gonna be such an amazing dad. Now defend yourself. This boy is beaming out, ready to kick your ass in Ambo Jitsu.
Wow. Congrats, Ben and Kate. That's amazing.
Kate just assuming a father-son conflict straight out of early season Star Trek The Next Generation.
It's been known to happen.
Yeah. Sport of the future.
Yeah. Daron's already kicked my ass several times in Anbo Jitsu.
And the resentments have begun.
Yeah. It's not going great over here. If you'd like to get a Priority One message on the show, head to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron and book yours today.
You could be the least stressful part of Hot Cylon Summer. Write in and tell us how you're celebrating Hot Cylon Summer.
Yeah, do it. Hey, Adam.
What's that, Ben?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin?
It's hard not to pick Gaius Baltar until there's an episode that Gaius Baltar isn't in. I think the scene that comes to mind is that one where he's trying to talk to Six and President Roslin in the same scene.
Yeah.
And how elegantly that sequence is edited together, and how Six is occasionally framed out or gone from the scene and then reappears. I love how moments like that hang together, like from the television movie to now. It's nice that we're not just going to the lake house for those conversations. Mm-hmm. Like she's just ever present. So, Gaius for me. What about you?
I think I'm going to give it to Starbuck for her bit. Like, she maybe doesn't need the drugs, given the fact that she's able to put together elaborate ruses to fuck with her superior officer while she's this tired, you know?
I mean, I love the idea that, like, the drugs have been distributed by the workplace. I'm not the asshole, you are. You have any idea what a confusing place that puts me in?
Yeah. More workplaces should dispense drugs to people.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the lesson here.
Guess so. I don't think we're ready to start. We might be close, though.
I mean, I guess sort of. We got those microdose gummy samples that one time.
Oh, sure. Those are always good in a pinch.
Yeah, we should see if they'll send us more of those.
Ben, it's time for our hit segment, Warning Bois. It's an opportunity for us to share a message sent in by a friend of DeSoto that accomplishes two things. Invites a potential new viewer into the show, and also repels someone who just wouldn't find it possible to get on our level.
Indeed.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
Ben, I got a DM here. Someone crawled into our DMs on Instagram.
Usually doesn't qualify as a warning bois because only we can see that, but we'll take it.
This one comes from Bonaire. The message was written to Bill Tilley. Bill Tilley, of course, the person who screens all of our DMs. Boy, does he have the dirt on some FODs. Can't wait to hear all about that at Star Trek Las Vegas. Here's their message. Hey, Bill, or maybe someone else. Longtime friend of DeSoto here. I'm messaging because I upgraded to be a supporting member of this Max Fun Drive, and I'm listening to the back episodes of the bonus feed. And I absolutely love Santa Monica Mountains. I need Ben and Adam to get this data point in case many friends of DeSoto are chiming in, because I think they have a real opportunity to do a Santa Monica Mountains show as a public-facing show if they want to. They are truly hilarious podcasters, and all my love to the greatest Gen fam.
Wow. Thank you, Bonaire.
I read this because, coincidentally, getting behind the pod a little bit, we're about to record another episode of our hit bonus podcast, Santa Monica Mountains, just after this one.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. So keep your eyes on the bonus feed for that. And, I mean, let's wrap this fucking episode up so we can talk about Baywatch for a little while.
Can't wait to pull on my swimsuit.
Yeah.
Ben, which is the thing I always wear when I record that show. I record Hot Cylon Summer wearing chainmail.
Really appreciate everybody that supports and everybody that listens to those bonus eps. And everybody that talks about the show, if you'd like to appear in the Warning Bois segment, all you do is post about the show online or leave a nice 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and you might hear your words coming out of our mouths. Thank you.
Great start to Hot Cylon Summer, Ben. Really excited to go through the rest of the first season of Battlestar Galactica with you.
Yeah.
And the rest of the FODs. Hope this is fun for everyone out there.
Yeah. I made a Hot Cylon Summer beach towel design that's available at podshop.biz now. It would absolutely make my year if I was walking down some beach here in Southern California at some point this summer and spotted somebody lounging on a Hot Cylon Summer beach towel.
You hear that, FODs? Take a picture of yourself with a Hot Cylon Summer towel and send it in to us on the socials.
Please do.
We'll repost them. It'll be fun.
With that, we're going to leave the rest of this episode in Wynde's capable hands. Take it away, Wynde.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Next week on Hot Cylon Summer, it's Battlestar Galactica Season 1, Episode 2. It's called Water. If you love the show and you want to support it, we really appreciate that. There are a lot of ways you can do it, from subscribing to the Greatest Trek YouTube channel to leaving a 5-star rating and review on your podcatcher to telling someone you know about the show. And if you have it, a $5 a month membership really makes this project sustainable, and members get access to a lot of great bonus content. You can set it up at MaximumFun.org/join. Nick Ditmore created the show art, and Adam Ragusia composed the theme music you hear on each episode. Thanks to Bill Tilley and Rob Adler for their work on the social media pages for this show. Make sure you're following @GreatestTrek wherever you hang out online, and use the hashtag GreatestTrek when you post about the show. There are also great FOD-run communities on Reddit, Facebook, and on Discord at drunkshimoda.com. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Wynde's not a Cylon, right?
Oh, shit.
You haven't thought about that, have you?
I had not considered that.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
directly
by you.